Are you doing everything right, cutting carbs, eating cleaner, even trying fasting, but your body just refuses to switch into fat burning mode? Here's what most people don't realize. Ketosis is not just about removing carbs. It's about sending the right signals to your body so it feels safe enough to burn fat instead of storing it. And the real issue is not willpower, it's physiology. Your body is constantly deciding between two fuel systems, sugar burning or fat burning. That decision is largely controlled by insulin, your liver, your stress hormones, and how efficiently your cells can access stored energy. If even one of those signals is off, you can restrict carbs all day and still struggle to enter ketosis. So if you've ever felt stuck, fatigued, or frustrated while trying to get into ketosis, you're not alone. The problem is usually not effort, it's strategy. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what's actually happening inside your body, and more importantly, how to shift it. We'll break down the 8 most effective science-backed ways to enter ketosis faster. Not hacks, not gimmicks, but real physiological levers you can use starting today. Because once you understand the signals, you stop guessing, and you start working with your body instead of against it. Let's begin. Before we go deeper, let me give you a clear roadmap of where we're headed, because once you see how these pieces connect, the process becomes much simpler. We're going to walk through 8 key levers that directly influence how quickly your body can switch into fat-burning mode. First, we'll look at insulin and why lowering it is the primary signal that unlocks fat burning. Second, we'll talk about glycogen depletion and how your body has to empty stored sugar before it fully commits to ketosis. Third, we'll explore protein intake because too much or too little can both slow your progress. Fourth, we'll break down fasting and how timing your meals can accelerate the metabolic switch. Fifth, we'll cover electrolytes and hydration, which are often overlooked but critical for avoiding fatigue and supporting the transition. Sixth, we'll look at movement, especially walking and strength training, and how they help your body use stored fuel more efficiently. Seventh, we'll talk about stress and sleep, because cortisol can quietly block fat burning even if your diet is perfect. And finally, we'll bring it all together into a simple, practical daily protocol you can follow. As we go through each of these, I want you to think less about perfection and more about direction. Small adjustments in the right areas can create powerful shifts in how your body functions. Now let's start with the most important signal of all, insulin. Let's start with the foundation, because if you miss this, nothing else works the way it should, and that is insulin. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone, it's a storage signal. When insulin is elevated, your body is being told very clearly, do not burn fat, store energy instead. Think of it like a switch. When insulin is high, the door to your fat stores is locked. When insulin drops, that door begins to open. And only when it stays low long enough does your body fully transition into ketosis. The mistake most people make is focusing only on carbs without understanding that insulin can also be influenced by meal frequency, hidden sugars, and even stress. You can eat low carb and still keep insulin elevated if you're constantly snacking or consuming processed foods that spike your system. What the research suggests is that sustained periods of low insulin are what allow your liver to begin producing ketones. This doesn't happen instantly. It requires consistency. So here's the practical way to apply this. Start by tightening your eating window. Instead of grazing all day, aim for 2 to 3 structured meals with no snacking in between. This gives insulin time to fall between meals. Next, focus on removing obvious insulin triggers. That includes sugar, refined grains, and even frequent small bites that keep your body in a fed state. And then prioritize whole, nutrient-dense foods. Healthy fats, moderate protein, and low glycemic vegetables help stabilize insulin rather than spike it. If this is helping you understand your body more clearly, consider subscribing. I share simple, practical strategies like this to help you take control of your metabolism. Because once you lower insulin consistently, Everything else we're about to discuss starts working faster and more efficiently. Now that you understand the signal, the next step is understanding fuel storage. Your body won't switch to fat burning until it runs low on its stored sugar. Now that insulin is coming down, we need to talk about something just as important, and that's glycogen. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Glycogen is simply stored sugar. Your liver and muscles hold on to it as a quick access fuel source. And as long as that tank is full, your body has no reason to switch over to burning fat. Think of it like a hybrid car. If the battery is fully charged, the engine doesn't need to turn on. In this case, glycogen is that battery. Ketosis only begins when that reserve starts running low. The mistake most people make is expecting ketosis to happen quickly without first depleting glycogen. They reduce carbs slightly, but not enough to drain those stores, so the body just keeps using sugar in the background. What the research shows is that glycogen depletion is one of the key triggers for ketone production. This is why some people enter ketosis faster when they combine carbohydrate restriction with fasting or physical activity. So here's the practical way to apply this. First, be intentional with carbohydrate intake. For most people, getting below about 20 to 50 grams of net carbs per day helps accelerate glycogen depletion. Focus those carbs on non-starchy vegetables rather than grains or sugars. Second, use movement strategically. A brisk walk, light resistance training, or even a longer walk after meals can help your muscles pull glucose out of the bloodstream and use up stored glycogen more quickly. Third, consider a short fasting window. Even 12 to 16 hours overnight allows your body to start dipping into glycogen reserves, especially if dinner is lower in carbs. And here's an important point. During this phase, it's normal to feel a dip in energy. That doesn't mean something is wrong. It means your body is transitioning fuel systems. Stay consistent, support the process, and glycogen will come down. And once it does, your body has no choice but to look for another fuel source, which brings us to the next piece. Because what you eat next, especially protein, can either support ketosis or quietly slow it down. Now let's talk about one of the most misunderstood parts of getting into ketosis, and that is protein. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Protein is essential. It supports muscle, hormones, enzymes, and overall metabolic health. But when it comes to ketosis, balance matters. Think of protein like a building material. Your body uses what it needs, but anything in excess can be converted into glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis. That means if protein intake is too high, your body can quietly keep producing sugar, which slows down your transition into fat burning. The mistake most people make is swinging too far in one direction. Either they eat too much protein thinking more is better, or they avoid it so much that they lose muscle and feel weak. Neither approach works long term. What the research suggests is that moderate protein intake supports ketosis best. Enough to maintain lean muscle and metabolic function, but not so much that it constantly feeds glucose production. So here's the practical way to apply this. Aim for a moderate protein range, roughly 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of ideal body weight. Spread that across your meals rather than loading it all at once. Choose clean, high-quality sources. Eggs, fish, poultry, and grass-fed meats tend to provide better nutrient density and satiety. And pair your protein with healthy fats. This is key. Fat helps keep insulin lower and provides the alternative fuel your body is transitioning toward. If this is making things clearer, consider sharing this with someone who's been struggling with low-carb diets but not seeing results. Often, this one adjustment makes a big difference because once protein is balanced correctly, your body is no longer getting mixed signals, and that allows the next lever to work even more effectively. Now let's move into one of the most powerful tools for accelerating ketosis, and that's not just what you eat, but when you eat. Now let's shift from what you eat to when you eat, because timing is one of the most powerful ways to accelerate ketosis. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every time you eat, insulin rises. Even with low-carb meals, there is still a small insulin response. And as we said earlier, insulin is the signal that tells your body to pause fat burning. So if you're eating frequently, even the right foods, you may be slowing down your transition without realizing it. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to drain a bathtub while someone keeps turning the faucet back on. You'll make progress, but much slower. Fasting is simply turning off that faucet long enough for your body to fully shift into fat-burning mode. The mistake most people make is assuming they need to eat constantly to maintain energy. In reality, once your body starts adapting, giving it longer breaks between meals actually improves energy stability. What the research shows is that time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting can significantly lower insulin levels and accelerate the depletion of glycogen, which we talked about earlier. This creates the perfect environment for ketosis. So here's the practical way to apply this. Start with a simple overnight fast. Aim for 12 hours, for example, finishing dinner at 7 p.m. and eating again at 7 a.m. Once that feels comfortable, gradually extend it to 14 or even 16 hours if your body tolerates it well. During the fasting window, focus on hydration. Water, electrolytes, and even black coffee or tea can help support the process without disrupting fat burning. And when you do eat, make those meals count. Balanced, nutrient-dense, and satisfying enough to carry you through to the next meal without snacking. If you're on medications, especially for blood sugar or blood pressure, it's important to talk with your doctor before extending fasting windows. Because when you get timing right, insulin stays low for longer periods, glycogen depletes faster, and your body transitions into ketosis much more efficiently. Now, as you start fasting and lowering insulin, there's one thing that often gets overlooked, and it's the reason many people feel tired or get headaches during this transition. Let's talk about electrolytes and hydration. Now, let's address one of the most common reasons people feel fatigued, lightheaded, or even give up early when trying to get into ketosis, and that's electrolytes. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When insulin levels drop, your kidneys begin to release more sodium. This is a normal physiological response. But along with sodium, you also lose water. And with that, key electrolytes like potassium and magnesium. Think of electrolytes like the electrical wiring of your body. They help regulate nerve signals, muscle contractions, hydration, and even energy production. When they're out of balance, everything feels off. Fatigue, headaches, brain fog, muscle cramps. These are not signs that ketosis isn't working. They're signs that your body needs support during the transition. The mistake most people make is focusing only on food and completely ignoring hydration and minerals. So as their body shifts into fat burning, they feel worse instead of better. What the research and clinical experience show is that maintaining electrolyte balance can dramatically improve how you feel as you enter ketosis and can help you stay consistent. So here's the practical way to apply this. Start by increasing your sodium intake slightly, especially in the early phase. This can be as simple as adding a pinch of high-quality salt to your water or using broth once or twice a day. Next, focus on potassium-rich, low-carb foods. Avocados, leafy greens, and mushrooms are excellent choices. And don't forget magnesium. This is often low even before starting a ketogenic approach. Magnesium-rich foods or a supplement in the evening may help support relaxation, sleep, and muscle function. Also, drink water consistently throughout the day. But don't overdo it to the point where you dilute your electrolytes further. If this is helping you connect the dots, save this video so you can come back to these steps as you implement them. Because when your electrolytes are balanced, your energy stabilizes. And that makes it much easier to stay consistent long enough for your body to fully adapt. Now that your internal environment is supported, let's look at how movement can accelerate this entire process even further. Now let's talk about movement, because this is one of the fastest ways to help your body switch into fat-burning mode, and most people either overdo it or overlook it completely. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your muscles are one of the biggest consumers of glucose. When you move, especially in a fasted or low insulin state, your muscles start pulling glucose out of the bloodstream and using up stored glycogen more quickly. Think of your muscles like a sponge. The more you use them, the more they soak up available fuel. And once that stored sugar starts running low, your body is pushed toward using fat as its primary energy source. The mistake most people make is assuming they need intense workouts to get results. But high-intensity exercise, especially when your body is not yet adapted, can increase stress hormones like cortisol, which can actually slow down fat burning. What the research suggests is that low to moderate intensity movement is extremely effective during this transition phase. Walking, light resistance training, or even short bouts of activity after meals can significantly improve how quickly your body uses glucose and shifts toward ketosis. So here's the practical way to apply this. Start with something simple and consistent. A 20 to 30-minute walk daily, ideally after meals, can help lower blood sugar and accelerate glycogen depletion. Add in light strength training 2 to 3 times per week. This helps preserve muscle, which is critical for long-term metabolic health. And if you feel good, you can include occasional higher intensity sessions, but they should not be the foundation during the early transition into ketosis. If this is helping you rethink your approach, consider sharing this with someone who believes they need to burn calories to lose fat. The real goal is to shift metabolism, not just exhaust the body. Because when movement is used strategically, it becomes a tool to guide your metabolism, not just a way to burn energy. Now, there's one final piece that quietly influences all of this, and many people completely miss it. Even with perfect nutrition and movement, this one factor can keep your body stuck. Let's talk about stress and sleep. Now, let's talk about the hidden factor that can override everything we've discussed so far, and that is stress and sleep. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When you're under stress, your body releases cortisol. This is a survival hormone. In the short term, it's helpful. But when it stays elevated, it sends a very specific message. We need quick energy. And how does your body respond to that signal? It raises blood sugar. Think of it like this. Even if you're not eating sugar, your body can make its own when cortisol is high. This keeps insulin elevated in the background, which slows down fat burning and makes it harder to enter ketosis. The mistake most people make is focusing only on diet and exercise while ignoring the internal stress load. Poor sleep, mental stress, overtraining, even constant stimulation can all keep cortisol elevated. What the research consistently shows is that sleep quality and stress regulation are directly linked to insulin sensitivity, appetite control, and metabolic flexibility. So here's the practical way to apply this. Start with sleep. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of consistent, high-quality sleep. Try to go to bed and wake up at the same time each day. Keep your room dark, cool, and free from screens before bedtime. Next, build simple stress-reducing habits into your day. This doesn't have to be complicated. Even 5 to 10 minutes of deep breathing, time outdoors, or quiet reflection can help lower cortisol levels. And be mindful of overtraining. If you're pushing your body too hard without enough recovery, you may be working against your goals. Because when cortisol is balanced, your body feels safe. And when your body feels safe, it's much more willing to switch into fat-burning mode. Now let's bring all of this together into a simple, practical plan you can actually follow starting today.